Have you seen the pictures?
Who's going to employ this guy?
Have you seen the pictures of him with the crack pipe?
You're darn right I have. Unfortunately, I can't show them to you right now, but this is the hard drive they're on.
Oh,
right
my
there.
gosh.
Oh, my word. You know him, you love him. He is America's mayor, and he is the top dog in the news right now. Former mayor of New York City and Times Magazine Man of the Year. And I call him, I would like to say friend, but he's been on the show once. But Mayor Giuliani, how are you, sir?
How are you, Sam?
I am doing fine. Thank you very much. So, seems like you're a busy man these days.
I'd say so. Yeah, I'm busy, but it's good. We're finally getting the truth out.
Yeah, well,
Taking a while, but we're finally getting it out.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. Not getting it out as much as one could, if not for, today's Roman Empire, which is big tech. But before we go into the Hunter Biden emails and all of that, what do you expect from each town hall tonight? And of course, by the way, sorry, I should have mentioned the podcast is Common Sense, available at rudyscommonsense.com. I'm sorry, I figured people know you have a podcast, but it's Common Sense with Rudy Giuliani. What do you expect tonight from the town halls? First Donald Trump, then Joseph Biden.
Well, I mean, Donald Trump has done so many of them. I think we all know what's going to happen. He'll be very transparent. He's got tremendous command of the issues, the substantive issues. He'll answer the questions directly. He's not going to say, you don't deserve to know my position on whatever, which Biden is likely to say.
Whatever is kind of a placeholder, but it works in this instance because it has been pretty much used for whatever.
Well, I mean, it'll be Biden. Who knows what we're going to get with Biden? I don't know if he's taken a sufficient number of drugs. I guess he'll get through it. If he hasn't, he'll forget the Pledge of Allegiance.
Do you
pledge allegiance to the flag? That was it.
Right. Whatever. Do you? Okay. We'll move. That's kind of you just threw some bombs out there, like you threw like it was a Molotov cocktail at a peaceful protest. Do you really think that former Vice President Joe Biden is using performance-enhancing drugs? And obviously this is conjecture, but if you had to bet.
Yeah. Okay. I think he's taking something like Adderall. I think he's taking something like Adderall to help his concentration, because there are times in which he wanders off into who knows where, and there are other times where he's pretty focused. And I mean, I've spoken to doctors about it, including a podcast I did on it. Both doctors said that from everything they can see, he looks like he's pretty far advanced with dementia. Some of the prime symptoms being he gets numbers screwed up, he gets lost in the middle of sentences, he can't remember who his wife is, he thinks he was in the Senate for 186 years, he thinks he's running for the Senate.
Well,
he said the other day, I'm running for the Senate. He didn't even pause. I mean, it's like, we might make that mistake. I'm running for the Senate. No, I'm running for president.
Right.
I'm running for the Senate. I was in the Senate for 186 years.
You'd think there'd be a forehead slap somewhere along that president, but no.
Boom, boom, bang, bang.
But how amazing would it be if this was all one brilliant ploy just to convince his wife that I didn't know she wasn't you. I forgot who you are. You saw me do it on a national stage.
I think it's going to be an insanity defense in his RICO case.
Right. Okay. So let's get to this. This is I have to ask you some questions that obviously people want to see asked, both from the right and the left. But surmise here for people who don't know, because a lot of people get their information from Facebook and Twitter. And the story was throttled. We tested it, by the way. It is the first time I think it was ever retweeted by the president. We tested the New York Post article about your Hunter Biden emails, and it told us that it could not be posted. We have the screenshot available on my Twitter because it violated their policies. And then it was sort of disseminated, and Jack Dorsey apologized. He'll have to speak before a hearing. So for people who haven't heard yet, this is a bombshell in New York Post. What is it, if you have to give them the bullet points? Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, what's the implication here?
Hunter Biden and Joe Biden are involved in a bribery scheme in Ukraine. And Hunter Biden and Joe have for years said that Joe knew nothing about Burisma, the company that paid the bribe. He knew nothing about his dealings in Ukraine. And what there is a cold, clear group of text messages in which Hunter Biden sets up a meeting for the number 2 person in that company with Joe Biden. Right. Who then texts Hunter back and thanks him. So it makes Joe a complete liar for the last 7 years. It shows that he met with Burisma. I think it's not on his public schedule, but we have another one where Hunter Biden was snuck into the back of the State Department, so his meeting with the Deputy Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, isn't recorded, because if he had the meeting, it would have violated the Foreign Agents Registration Act. So I mean, there are plenty of very, very damning things with regard to Ukraine on the hard drive. The main one being that Joe Biden's been lying for 7 years about it and knew all about Burisma, as you knew was true.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
I didn't know anything about my son's foreign dealings. How credible is that?
Right.
The guy is suffering from really massive drug addiction, which the hard drive will make clear. It's hard to get through a line of photographs without seeing one of him with a crack pipe sitting in a closet.
Well, he was a fan of Weezer.
Sitting in the closet going bonkers. He's like a zombie.
Have you seen the pictures?
Who's going to report this guy?
Have you seen the pictures of him with the crack pipe?
John Wright, I have.
Oh, wow. Does he at least look like cool?
Unfortunately, I can't show them to you right now, but this is the hard drive they're on.
Oh,
right
my
there.
gosh.
Oh, my word. Let me ask you this, Mayor Giuliani. How did you get that hard drive? Because this is the crux of the New York Post article being throttled right on social media. They said that you've been working with a Russian agent, or that it's entirely false.
Actually, I got it directly from Putin. No, he sent it to me.
You are not going to believe who likes hash pipe.
Putin sent it to me, and he said, I don't even know. He just wanted a couple of bottles of vodka in return. Right. Which wasn't bad. I mean, it cost me about $150. I sent it to Putin.
Right.
And
if you send him something better than Grey Goose, he'll show you the heroin pictures.
It's got Hunter Biden there with crack pipes. It's got him there doing an imitation of Anthony Weiner about 50 times. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes,
it's got some very disturbing things on it that I shouldn't joke about. And here's how I got it. Hunter Biden brought his hard drive into a repairman to repair it. The repairman took it. Hunter Biden signed a receipt for it, which I have here, and said he was going to come back for it. 2 days later, he came back and gave him a part. And then when it was done, he never came back. According to the agreement, after 90 days, the hard drive is abandoned under the law, and it belongs to the merchant. The merchant held it for another 3-4 months, and then he heard all this talk on television, and he started to get worried. What do I have here? This could be criminal evidence.
Right.
So he opened it, and he almost fainted. He said, "I never saw anything like this before." And if you looked at the photographs, you'd probably come to that conclusion also. But then he took a look at the text, and he saw in the text major contradictions to what the Bidens were saying on television, like the one I just told you.
Right.
Biden was saying, I didn't know anything about Burisma in Ukraine, and there's plenty of evidence that he did.
Can I ask you a question, Mayor Giuliani? Because, you mentioned Anthony Weiner, and, I sort of came up under Andrew Breitbart. Before it was Breitbart, it was Big Hollywood, and I was there for the Weiner scandal and Acorn and all of that. Here's my question to you, because obviously you know that the left is going to come out and say, well, this can't be corroborated. That's the basis on which Facebook and Twitter have throttled this story, despite the fact that they were covering stories that were verifiably false regarding Trump calling the troops suckers and losers. But how do you go about then behind the scenes making sure that New York Post, or have you offered any evidence to anyone other than New York Post to corroborate? Because obviously New York Post believes that this is real. They've confirmed it. But is there any way for you to get the media to confirm it behind the scenes so that we don't run afoul of social media, or do they not care?
If they think it's not correct, sue Rupert Murdoch. You don't. I mean, he had it for 5 days, and they did everything they could to verify it. They're convinced that it's real. Not only that, I internally verified it. There are things on that hard drive that only Hunter Biden would know, because those things were given to us by anonymous informants. Dates, for example, that aren't public. Dates of meetings that were never recorded in the State Department or the White House in order to hide them. And the hard drive comes up with exactly those same dates. That could only have been known to Hunter Biden. His pictures all over it make it pretty clear that it's him. His signature is on the receipt for it. The gentleman can identify him as Hunter Biden. And if you read the internal messages, they're quite consistent with what we already know. It describes a transaction. In China that I think we all know. It's in Schweiker's book. almost exactly the same as Schweiker does it, except it explains that when the money was transferred. The Ukraine thing is exactly what the 5 witnesses told me, all of whom want to come to the United States and testify under oath and are being blocked from coming to the United States. And I mean, this is really ridiculous.
This is mammoth, obviously. Like this makes Watergate look like a what do we say? Dwarf piss droplets at this point. It's so huge that it almost seems. Almost, for lack of a better word, it almost sounds unbelievable to Americans because, like, well, this is so huge, and that's why Twitter and Facebook have decided to throttle it. Which, hopefully, at this point, we understand that this is now a First Amendment issue and not a free speech version of the First Amendment issue. But we're talking about actually the freedom of the press. If New York Post is not being allowed to get their material up there, one thing I wanted to make sure you may not know how to explain this because it's more of a tech issue. Your story, obviously, or the New York Post story that you've obviously provided information on, was not available when we were searching at social media. All across platforms. What was a story that claimed you or someone who worked with you had photoshopped these files or had fabricated them. So that wasn't considered fake news. That was at the top, and that's not even the claim they're making. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I have my tech guy Bryce here.
I'm willing to invite. I just invited someone on Fox if they want to come here and look at it. They can't take it away, but you can come and look at it. Figure out for yourself that it's
Well, I actually have my tech guy Bryce here who explained to me why those articles were false right off the bat. If I may, and you were saying that there's something.
Yeah, so it's not super definitive,
right,
but it's just an explanation.
Yeah.
Gibbon, you want to pull up the raster versus vector thing?
Okay, so we'll explain it really quickly because we have the American mayor.
So their argument was that the little logo was pixelized and all kind of low resolution compared to the text. But that's kind of what would happen if you exported an email.
Okay, yeah.
So a vector, so the little icon is usually like an Apple or a Google type image.
Right.
And that's probably referencing either a vector or higher resolution images on the server.
Okay, it sounded like Mayor Giuliani.
That's exactly what happened. This was an older, the original hard drive was older, and he had to put it on newer hard drives. I mean, he can explain it in detail. And come on, let's face it, they're not challenging the accuracy of it.
Well, they're not anymore.
Biden's lawyers. In fact, I'll give you something that really verifies it. The very morning this came out, within about 20 minutes, Hunter Biden's lawyer called the merchant and asked him if he could have the hard drive back.
Really? Yeah. Well, that's that also reminds me. I need to call Geek Squad.
We have the email evidence of that.
Wow.
So if the lawyer is asking for the hard drive back,
yeah.
It must be the hard drive.
It obviously verifies that it's the hard. Hey, you can leave, Bryce. Yeah, I'm talking with America's mayor. I apologize for that. He overstays his welcome. That is now. Is there any record of that? In other words, like the lawyer reaching out to this man, I would imagine.
There's he actually did it by telephone and by email. We have the email.
Wow. Good. It's almost as though it makes it worse on them, Mr. Giuliani.
Oh yeah, it's the dumbest thing a lawyer can do, but who says that's smart?
Would you advise your clients?
Joe Biden was the dumbest kid in law school.
Well, I was say, would you advise your clients if someone came to you and said
to him,
"This is actually my hard drive"?
I was introduced to him by his law school classmate. He's the dumbest kid in our law school class, but he's a nice guy. He cheated his way through.
Oh my God!
He plagiarized in law school.
All right. Well, Mr. Mayor Giuliani, we're going to have to get going here pretty soon. But let me ask you: is there what else can we expect? Obviously, the relations now with China and the leverage that China could have on a Joe Biden presidency came out today. What else do you think is going to most surprise people? Since you're kind of this is a drip from this hard drive. What is there something? Can you give us any kind of?
I think as the second transaction in China comes out, you're going to see him being involved with a Chinese communist operative, an intelligence operative, and it's quite obvious that he's setting him up. He's setting Hunter Biden up, and he's setting Joe up for extortion. I think there'll be more emails and text messages that make that clear. I think you're going to see more emails and text messages that describe how Joe was compensated, how he was getting a portion of this money. In fact, he was getting a large portion of this money. And it'll explain also how Joe Biden, who never really made much money, has 2 or 3 very, very luxurious homes.
Right.
Because he didn't pay for anything Hunter did. So this is a long-term bribery scheme. that started at a low level in Delaware with his brother James selling his office, holding the money, taking care of Joe. And when they got to the big time, they shook down Iraq for, I think, about 500 million, Ukraine for about 20, China, I don't know. I mean, 30, 40 million.
Right.
Oh, gosh, I missed Russia, the 3.5 million from the mayor's wife, who was a good friend, by the way. We're kidding around about Putin. That woman is a close ally of Putin.
Right.
So we have the irony that the president was accused of falsely of colluding with Russia, but Biden actually got paid by Russia.
Well, I'll give you one more. When the media, I say media, but I'm talking about Twitter and Facebook, but let's be honest, that's what the media really is now. I don't watch cable news anymore because my doctor told me I was a hypochondriac, that I didn't have mesothelioma. So I went just to social at that point. I'm sure, but I need a reverse mortgage, doc. He's like, don't listen to Tom Selleck. It actually is his first rodeo. But my question to you here is, this is unbelievable when you think about the fact that they said, well, we can't verify the source, but you just mentioned Russia. People forget there was a story about Donald Trump washing Russian prostitutes peeing on furniture, and there was no verification, and none of that was ever throttled. So I am really looking forward.
And he's a germaphobe.
Yeah. Come on.
I've known him 30 years. I knew that was false the day they said it. He wouldn't get within 10 miles of something like that.
Unless like beforehand, he had his assistants go in like Greeks and put the cellophane back over the furniture, and he would still be like, oh, gross. No, I didn't buy it either. The show is Common Sense. It's the podcast available at rudyscommonssense.com. You can follow Mayor Giuliani at Rudy Giuliani on the Twitter, as long as they still allow him. I really appreciate you doing this, and I know you're staking your reputation on this.
I'm day by day now on Twitter.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mayor Giuliani. We really appreciate it, and I'll be keeping everyone abreast and talk with you soon.
You're a lot of fun.
Thank you.
God bless.
God bless. Hey there, YouTube viewer. If you like this video, click one of these other videos playing in a box, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You may be wondering why after this outlandish video, this is such a straight end card. That's because we've recently learned that end cards actually determine the YouTube algorithm as it relates to controversy on a sliding scale. So we have a yellow, and it escalates all the way to the word